All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining episode 4 of Happy Life. We always say that we gonna bring in new guests and have new people with us every week. And so before I introduce our guests, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Marquise Holyfield, and I am the owner of the Happy Life podcast. And so every week we sit and talk with different men and women talking about their dating experience and how their dating experience is focused on what their challenges are, what they've learned about themselves, what growth they've had, and then also how is it also related to their faith and what the challenges have been trying to find that godly man or finally finding that godly woman. So on this week's episode, I have with me Shantae. Shantae, hello to everybody. Hi.
Hey everybody.
So Shantae, let's just get to it. So, girl, tell me about it. So, I know that you've had different dating experiences and so forth. Some of them have been good, some of them have been challenging. We won't say not so good. We just gonna say.
Nice way to
So, talk to us a little bit about what are some of the things that you've learned. So, thinking about you, woman of God, dating. So, talk about some of the things that you've learned and some challenges you may have had.
I think that's an all-in-one question because when we talk about religion and bringing your religion to your relationships, I am finding I used to think that, a lot more people were starting to come into the church,
Mhm.
but my experience has been is that's not the case. So I'm finding that I'm the one that kind of has to carry that load of making sure I balance religion, making sure I balance, being prayerful and, praying over my partner, my family, my own life. Um, and then some things I've learned as far as, myself is how to communicate.
Okay.
It's taught me a lot of patience. It taught me a lot of key factors about communicating, learn to be clear and learn to, listen to understand. It's been an interesting journey. Let's say that.
It's a journey. Okay. So, and I agree with you. It has been interesting. So, talk about like your overall experience. Like, what have you tried in this, experience? We always talk about we in the world, but not of the world. But so, how do we do this? How do we do this? So, what does it look like for a Christian woman to date? How do you do that? So, are you on online dating? Or are you just meeting people? Are you just meeting the church men? Like, how is this working?
I am online dating.
Okay.
But I chose the online date because I work full time. I'm actually, working now, but I work full time. I'm a mom. So trying to balance that and then, going out, it's difficult. I'm just gonna be honest. But one thing I can say about online dating, I do feel like it forces a deeper connection because yeah, you can see the physical, but with a lot more communication, you get to know that person, you have deeper conversations, you get to understand each other on a different level, and it's not so much physical as far as like sexual encounters and learning the basis of what's your favorite color and all that. You talk about a lot more deeper things, your dreams, your childhood, and you learn to be transparent because unfortunately, because you're not seeing these people every day and you're not, in the physical, when you talk, you're basically talking about your everyday life and things that's happening in the moment. So it kind of forces you to be transparent and open up about, basically everything. Um, but I have to say, I do like online dating
Mhm.
because it opens your options. You think you might like something and you think you might be stuck to like one particular type, but you get to see that it's so much more out there.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about like we those of you I don't know I do also do a weekly radio show, Real Inspiration Radio, with Shantae's dad, and so we talk about relationship times all the time on and we're on WVTC radio, so check us out every Saturday at 11. But we do this and we talk about relationships all the time. And so one of the things that we always talking about is like dating with a purpose. So talk to me a little bit about like what does your dating with a purpose look like?
For me, dating with a purpose is first you have to figure out what it is that you're looking for.
Mhm.
First, I used to say, I wasn't a believer in marriage, even though I did come from parents that were married 35 years. So I have an idea of what a struggle looked like. I have an idea of what a healthy relationship looked like. I have an idea of what it looks like to resolve conflict.
Mhm.
But me personally, I've always said that I did not want to get married, even though it was strongly pushed on me. You know, and in general, that's pushed on us. You gotta. I'm sorry, but yeah, as women in general, it's pushed on us. You want to get married and have kids and raise this family. You want to be the housewife, but that's just not what I wanted. But over the last 3 to 4 years, I've kind of. I'm sorry, messages and everything else is coming through. But over the last 3 to 4 years, I've learned a lot about myself, and I have come to find that I do want to eventually start a family and build my own traditions. Experience what it's like to have that support system and be that support system, because relationships are not one sided.
They're not.
Um, and then also, it's just that like I said when I was telling you earlier about being the one to carry the weight of relationships.
Mhm.
If it calls for me to have to meet somebody that's not a Christian, and I
Mhm.
share my faith with them, share my experience, and it could bring them to Christ, or it could bring them, I mean, because some people are uncomfortable with church.
Yeah,
um
baby.
but if I can like share my experience and it make you more comfortable to open up to God and try to build your own relationship with God, then that's my purpose. My purpose is to be a reflection of Christ. My purpose is to witness, whether it be to a stranger or to my spouse.
Okay. So I think that's key and important for us to kind of think through and look at too. I know that a lot of times, I'm glad you were very open about how your views at first was that you didn't want to get married, and your views have changed, and you realize that, if you find the right person, you definitely, that's something you definitely want. I know that it's sometimes hard because that's something we've been taught, in the body of Christ, you date for a purpose. And then I think it's also hard too, because I think the one of the difficult pieces is when you do date for a purpose, how do you not push that onto the person that you're interested in or the person that you're dating, to allow it to happen naturally? Because I think sometimes it could put a lot of pressure on the partner to make them think that, like, okay, so you want to get married, so you want to marry me, and you may like, well, I need to get to know you first, and then I might decide I want to marry you.
Yeah, you know what? The thing about it is when you're dating in general,
Mhm.
it's really hard dating non-Christians. And I'm not non-Christians, but the people that's kind of like on a borderline,
Yeah.
because you want to be respectful of their opinion and their insight, but at the same time you don't want to neglect your own. Like you said, you grow up with this idea of how things are supposed to be, and at some point you kind of develop your own opinion and ideas. And so when you're dating, and I say dating because marriage is a different thing, and I have no, you know, ex-
No
in that
experience in that yet.
you're dating, it's really hard because, if you find somebody you like, you're
Mhm.
like, okay, I want to be perfect. I don't want to offend them. I want to make sure I say all the right things. I want to make sure I do all the right things. So it's really, really hard. And so, actually, not too long ago, I want to say about February, March, I was dating somebody that was not they
Mhm.
believed in God, but they didn't believe in going to church because of the whole church hurt thing.
Right.
Um, so it was always like walking on eggshells, because at the mission of God, it was like, you know, they
Mhm.
but I think it's very important to be able to understand that you can't neglect your own beliefs, you can't neglect your own feelings, and that you have to express that. And I believe this past Sunday in church, someone had, hit it on the head perfectly. Our job is to minister to other people. You don't have to go throwing Bibles over their head and Bible verses all day. But realistically, you just want to let them know, like, it's okay to have a conversation with God. You know, God's not gonna be mad at you and throw you in the pits of hell because you didn't go to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
But there's a slight chance that if you forget him, he's gonna forget you too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that's true and valuable. And I think, and I know that, especially us as being women and being in the dating process and being in relationships and so forth is difficult because it's the preconceived notion, because in today's society, you got to have a certain body type, you got to, we got all these women that's trying to get plastic surgery, and everybody wanted the BBLs. And if those of you don't know what the BBLs is, the Brazilian butt lifts, y'all. But everybody's trying to, is very trying to get breast augments and so forth, and some type of plastic surgery because they want to enhance their look, or everybody want to wear eyelashes and long weave and all these other different things because they feel like that's what we've been told or shown in society, that the girl with the long hair and the boom 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 body, she gets the person. That's the one who gets the marriage. And I think it's important for us to help us to figure out, as women of God, like, how do we, one, accept who we are, who we were made to be, what our bodies look like, what God called us to be. If we want to wear long hair, we want to wear long hair. If we want to have short hair, we want to have dreads, we want to be straight, we want to be curly, whatever it is. If you want to have a short haircut, whatever it is, being comfortable in yourself. And then also being comfortable with the way you look and understanding, how do we look past that surface piece? Your dad always talks about the piece where we talk about, you got to be attracted to the person. We know that much, but it's like, okay, the deeper piece is beyond the attraction piece.
You know what? Funny story.
Mhm.
So, the person I'm dating right now, I really have to say he's an amazing guy. I know I've shared with you my keto journey, and I know some people will say I have an obsession with this, weight thing, because I was 265 pounds. I
Mhm.
had the weight loss surgery. I got to 165, and back in April I had a surgery. So
Mhm.
since couch 2 weeks, I gained some more weight, and I
Right.
kind of about that. And it's mainly like you said, because society has basically told us how we should look, how we need to present ourselves. But then you look at a 600-pound life, and all of them got attractive, good men that care about them, that they care, they not ashamed of them. And you like, well, you know what? And I thought about that. I'm like, you know what? Here it is. I'm working on my weight. I'm a full-time mom. I take care of myself, and I'm single. So actually that was recently my wake-up call. And I can appreciate the person I'm dating now, because when we go out, I'd be like, well, I can't eat this and I can't eat that because I'm trying to lose weight. And it helps to have that support system that says, you know what? You're beautiful as you are. You're okay. And you don't, if you lose weight, if you don't lose weight, it's okay. But I definitely say, like, as far as me and my experience, I it's it wasn't necessarily a self-esteem thing, because I've always had a decent self-esteem, but it
Mhm.
was just more of like a visual thing. I didn't like what I see. You see all these lumps and curves, and you think like, oh God, I would never be in a relationship. I'm never gonna get married. But I'm not gonna lie, watching 600-pound life kind of like
A bit more
kind of
accepting of yourself, which is, I think, is a good thing. I think that's one of the things that we need to think about as we are on this journey. That yes, we do want to have that attraction to the person, but we also want to have, like you said, things in common. But is that support? I know I have to think about my own relationship and so forth. Um, I think one of the things that I love about him the most and about our relationship is the fact that he is supportive, that he has my back no matter what. Even when I don't have my own back for myself in situations, he got my back. And I think that's hard because sometimes it pushes us in these different situations where even when we may not stand up for ourselves, um, to know that there's somebody else that not only is willing to stand up for us, but also will challenge us to make moves to be like, why are you letting other people disrespect you, no matter who those other people are? I know that you are the kind-hearted person and you want to bring harmony, but it's important for you to stand up for yourself because people are gonna keep trying to walk over you.
right, exactly. No, and then like you were saying, having that extra support system is a big deal. That's why you want to kind of be careful about limiting yourself, as far as having types,
Mhm.
because your type might not be what what you think it is. It's only what you're used to. And I
Mhm.
think, people haven't caught on to that, because I keep hearing that word a lot. Um, the person I'm dating right now ordinarily would not be my type. You know, he's a cute nerd, he's a tech nerd, very smart. And I mean, Marquise, you know me. I'm
I
used to
know.
the, you know,
I know, girl. I know. I know.
but like I said, it helps when you open your perspective, because you never know where you're gonna find your security, your emotional security. Having that person that builds you up when you tearing yourself down. Somebody that looks beyond your faults and highlights your positives. Um, the thing, and like I said, I think we all just get so caught up in what society tell us we supposed to like. 'Cause let's be honest, when you watch TV, who's getting all the hot guys?
I
Oh, dating all the hot girls. It's always the more negative image. I ain't
I
gonna say negative, but the more hard to get image. I would say that. So, you just want to open your perspective and make sure you don't limit to yourself. That's what I would tell anybody, whether it's in dating or, if you're working on yourself, you got to try to kind of eliminate those limits and restrictions.
So tell me a little bit, how is it important for you for your partner to be that person to help to make you grow? Because I think that's what we forget in relationships. We always looking for the person to make us happy, accommodate us, support us. But I think it's that challenge piece is the piece that most people are not comfortable with, because sometimes we get criticized. I mean, we're going to get criticized but when you get criticized in love, it's a little bit different. Sometimes it don't mean that it hurts less. It just means that you move differently.
There's a difference between being criticized and being challenged. And I think that's where people don't, connect the two. Because when somebody challenges you out of love, like say for instance, just an example, if your spouse say, hey, you know what, let's get up and go to the gym, is they really criticizing you and calling you fat, or is that saying, hey, I love you enough that I want us both to be healthy?
Right.
If say you want to change jobs and your spouse say, you know what, go for it. What is it that you want to do? If you tell me you want to start a business, now I'm not criticizing you because I say, hey, what's the plan? No, that's the challenge. I want to make sure that you have everything lined up, that you done educated yourself enough, and that you're willing to go through the challenge, or you're willing to go through the struggle that's going to come. Because trust and believe, with anything that you try to do to better yourself, there's bound to be some type of struggle. So I think the important thing is for the person that's receiving is to be able to recognize when somebody is challenging you and when somebody is criticizing you, because those are two totally different things, but they can come uniform as the same.
I think so too. And I think it's important for us to be able to, we talk always about on Happy Life, doing that internal work and that reflection, knowing who you are, knowing what it is that you want. Also wanting someone to help you to grow and to make you better. We always talk about healthy relationships, our relationships that challenge you and force you to have a different perspective, look at things differently. You may not always agree about the approach, but understanding that sometimes you do have to move in a different way to get the things that you need to get it done and accomplish, and how to do that respectively and lovingly. I think that's key and important too.
Absolutely. And when you say about having a perspective of challenging, accepting challenges or whatever, I just think that when you first start a relationship, that is something that besides the what's your favorite colors,
Yeah.
I that that should be a conversation. What does me, or how can I encourage you? What can I do to help motivate you? What can I do? Because I think a lot of times we are consumed with the what can you do for me? What can I benefit? That we don't often consider what we could do for our partners. And that's a challenge for yourself, that you should take on, to not, really consider yourself for once. Consider your partner, consider their feelings, their perspective, their ideas, and learn how to balance the two. Because I'm big on, I see so many people get into relationships and they lose themselves. but you have to really know how to balance the two. You know, you want to stay yourself, but you want to be able to be a proper partner in giving out challenges, but also giving out love too.
So the other thing I want to talk to you, because I know that you talked about your son, you're a mother. So I want to talk about, like, as you are dating, like, when do you think is the appropriate time to introduce the person to your child? What does that look like for you? And then also talk about, like, the family orientedness. You come from a very large family, very family oriented, how important that is for you, and what is your expectation for your significant other? So let's just say, you know, everybody don't get along.
Okay. So here's the thing. My take on introducing my son to people I date is a little bit different from others.
Mhm.
Okay. My son has only realistically met two people I've dated. They were people I spent a lot of time with before Chase was brought into the picture. Um, I don't believe in a time limit, but I do believe in connection.
Mhm.
Um, and I will say that I was blessed enough that Chase did get along with both of these people. And in doing that, it has taught me of it has set an expectation of what to accept in the future.
Okay.
If you can't accept my son as your own, because I don't believe in step, you
Mhm.
know, my family never believed in step. We don't believe in the step sister, step dad, and all of that stuff. We is or we isn't, and we support each other 110%. We got each other back. And I expect that from my own family. If I was to have kids, I'm not going to treat your kids any more different than I would treat my kids. There will never be oh, I went school shopping for my son. What you going to do about your kids? Like, no, you know, one thing I always say is to be equally yoked means that you have to be going in the same direction, which means that you're a team. So anything that you're a part of, that means I'm a part of. That includes your family.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people have that whole baby mama, baby daddy drama and things like that. I don't believe in that. I believe that adults should be able to sit down and have a discussion and be able to come to an understanding and establish boundaries. Hey, if I did something you didn't like, I need you to let me know and I need to be able to adjust. If you did the same, we need to be adults enough to talk about it, communicate, and get it over with. It shouldn't have to be anything that disrupts a child's life. I'm very big. I mean, you know me, I love spoiling kids. So, so sometimes you might have to tell me, like, hey, I don't want my kids doing that. And that's okay. I'm not going to get offended because you're still their parent. But at the same time, we all are their village now. We all got a hand in growing and, helping them, mold their future. So, I'm really big on family. I'm really big. And so if a man can't accept my child as his own, I can't do it. And if I have the feeling that I can't accept your child as my own, I'm not going to waste your time. It's no point because your kid's not going nowhere. My kid's not going nowhere. And it's no point in spending a lifetime of fighting
Yeah,
because
that's, I mean,
somebody have resentment and now you got this resentment that's going to grow into something else and going to grow into something else, and it's not going to be a good end result.
yeah, that's true. I think that's key and important. I think it's something that we all need to think about, and how important it is to us and so forth. And I think it also depends on, like, how really close you are with your family, outside family, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Times people allow outside forces to intermingle into the relationship and make it be what other people want, and then the two people that's in the relationship are too busy trying to fight off what other people want and not focus on what they need. And so I think it's key and important for us to really, to really think about that, and what does that look like. And then if you find yourself in the challenge of, certain people may not get along, how do you know?
Big on you keep your relationships private. It's a difference between keeping it private and just not oversharing or not wanting everybody in your business. If you ask me how our relationship doing, even if it's horrible, I'm gonna tell you it's great because you don't want everybody opinion because eventually you and your spouse gonna be cool. But your family, your friends, they gonna hold on to those feelings. And once those feelings are developed, everybody, I mean, anytime something happens, they're gonna hold on to that first negative moment. So my biggest advice to anybody is to keep your relationship private, your situation, whatever's going on. We grow up with what goes on in the house stays in the house. And you took it one way, but as you go older, you find out what that really means, just to your own family.
Yeah, I think that's key too. Yeah, it is key. And sometimes, we stumble a couple times before we get there.
Of
But I
course.
think part of the process and so forth. So as we get ready to wrap up, tell me one piece of advice that you would like to leave with everyone. If you had one piece of advice, what that one piece of advice would be.
Don't limit it yourself. That's my biggest advice, because everybody gonna tell you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, but you gotta have your own mindset. And I mean, don't set time limits, don't have expectations. I always say don't have expectations. I know it may sound crazy to walk into situations blind, but I mean, you might enjoy the surprise. So dating is not easy, but if you with somebody and you're not sure, just be open and honest. That's the main thing. Know what you want. But not necessarily know what you want, but just be open about where you're currently at.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's key. I would advocate for knowing what you want because I think that's key because you don't want to be trying to figure it out in the process. I'm not saying not grow and not allow the other person to challenge you and learn new things and have a different open perspective. But I am saying it is key to know what you want. But I would say don't be rigid in that. Don't be so rigid in what it is that you want that you're not allowing the other person to have a space and fill in and able to grow with you. And then you can learn from them. And then I think it's important to understand that you are supposed to be learning from each other. It's never supposed to be like, I know everything and let me tell you what it is, or vice versa. But it's like, okay, I never thought about the perspective. Tell me a little bit more about that and be open to that perspective, even if it's not a perspective that you would genuinely go with. Because I think sometimes people get so stuck in their ways where they want it their way and not understanding that the relationship has to be a partnership, even in conflict, even in disagreement, even if it's something that you are not comfortable with. um I think that's key and important as well too.
Absolutely. And communication, that's the biggest thing. No matter how you look at it, emotionally, physically, however you want to put it, communication is the key. I think people should take it to consideration, learning to listen to understand, instead of being on a defensive side when somebody says something, whether it's boy girl relationship, family relationship, friend relationship. Ask questions. Why do you feel that way? What's your experience? Is there anything that make you change it, or anything that happened that make you feel that way? Like, ask questions. That's my biggest thing. I'll ask you a million questions.
Yeah, I think that's key too. Well, Shantae, I want to say thank you for spending your afternoon with me. Thank you for joining the Happy Life podcast. And thank all of you all for joining this afternoon with us with episode 4 of Happy Life. Look forward to seeing you all again next week for our podcast for our next guest. And so we just want to say good afternoon and thank you again. Thanks, everybody.